Welcome back to Make It, Share It. I'm joined by Stephen Cooper and Lauren Chandler, as almost always. And then today we have Brooke Ledbetter joining us. Hey, Brooke.
Hi.
Yay.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on. We are going to talk about Brooke's recent book, Closer Than a Brother, with a foreword by Lauren Chandler. So we kind of have both people involved in this one. Certainly, mostly Brooke, though. We're going to ask her a lot of questions about that and just talk about, as usual, the making and sharing of an artifact, cultural artifact like that. So, but for fun, here's my fun question for Brooke.
I'm ready.
Although sort of tied into a sad song, potentially, depending on how you interpret it. And Coop already knows now where I'm going, which is, do you have any relation to Tim Ledbetter?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know why I'm asking you this question?
I don't. Is that the Yellow Ledbetter song?
It is.
I'm familiar with the song,
Okay.
but I couldn't sing it to you. I just know it exists.
Yeah, that's okay. So it's a famous song by Pearl Jam, and there's a lot of, and again, Coop can take the lead on this, a lot of different thoughts about the meaning of the song, but came about as part of 10. It was on the B side of, what was that album, Coop, that it was on the B side of originally? What was it called? Was the whole thing called 10?
Yes, the album was called 10.
Yeah.
And then it came out on the Jeremy single.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it first, Jeremy was released as a CD single with Footsteps and Yellow Ledbetter, and people found it and went bananas.
There you go.
Okay.
And it's been a part of their set list ever since, though. It just maintains. So,
and for creatives, it's one of those cool stories of they had that guitar part, which is iconic. It's just a very repetitive, easy thing, but it's just so catchy and cool. And Eddie could never come, I say Eddie like we're friends. Ed, his friends call him Ed, couldn't come up with lyrics ever. Never anything he liked. So it's the rest of the band, you're just kind of going, well, if Eddie would write lyrics. And so it got pushed down on 10, not because of its quality, but because it was just not finished. And he could never figure out what he wanted to say. And so the joke to that is he never figured it out, because if you listen to the song, there are definitely some lines that are just pure mumbled nonsense. And a lot of what Eddie Vedder does sounds like mumbled stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And some of those lines, you're like, I think we've picked out English language words that we think he's saying. And when he's saying those vocals, there is no English language words in
What
that
happens
line.
when you look up the lyrics?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think someone has given it
Interpret it.
lyrics
They
in
have
a
the
few
gift
places.
of interpretation
Yeah,
because
there
he
you
is
go.
speaking
Yeah.
in tongues.
Eddie was speaking in tongues, and someone out there was able to interpret.
And if you
Yes.
see him live, the whole audience just kind of is in on the joke. It just goes, oh, and they do it together, because no one really knows what he's saying in a couple spots. It's pretty great.
This is fantastic, because people will say oh, like the song. And I'm like, yep, I guess so. And I had listened to it once, but I was like, I don't really get it. To know the backstory of oh, okay, I'll go listen to it and actually be in on the joke now. But
yeah. And apparently so Tim was an old high school friend, is how the story goes. Tim Ledbetter from Chicago. So yeah, you take it from there and see what you find out.
Maybe he's a long lost relative. I should do the 23andMe and find out. But
yeah.
And it's
There you
every
go.
guitar player of my generation's. It's our little wing, that and Under the Bridge. If you were 13 in the 90s, in the early 90s, and you couldn't play that song, then you didn't play guitar. You sat in your room until you had some version of Yellow Ledbetter that you could somehow get out on an electric guitar, or you just didn't feel good about yourself.
that's awesome. I will do my duty and listen to it right after this.
Nice.
Love it. Okay, before I do your turning point, just a little specific intro, which we always try to put some show notes. But Brooke, we were just talking about before we got started, is involved in several things. So she's a real estate agent. She's the lead trainer for Edison Coffee, based in Louisville, Texas. She's obviously a writer, and we're going to talk about that. And I'm sure many other things, but those are some of the big ones. And yeah, so with that little kind of brief intro, turning point allows us to just, see maybe a little bit of how you got to where you are today. And as we always say, it's something that really changed the way you think, live, or relate in the world. So with that said, Brooke, what's one turning point from your story that would be interesting to hear?
Yeah. I think the big one, and it's, a little heavy, so I apologize, but the big one for me was I think it's 2019. I was just in a really tough spot. I had this thing that I really, really loved, and I felt like the Lord was asking me to give it up for a lot of reasons, and I did not want to. So I was just clinging to it for dear life, and was really struggling with like severe depression, a lot of things, and had been praying for healing for a long time. We had kind of shifted from elder-led prayer to encounter at the village by that point, and so I would go every time and be like, pray for my depression, like pray it would go away, and it just never did. And then that summer of 2019, I did finally like obey the Lord and give the thing up, and I spent like a day crying on the couch at a friend's house. And just thought like, okay, well, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why the Lord is asking me to do this, but it's clear He wants me to. And the road is going to be long to healing and all this stuff. And I mean, literally, it was a 24-hour flip. I went to encounter that next Sunday, which was the next night. And I mean, the Lord just like fell, and I left a completely different person. Like, people for weeks were like, something happened to you. Like, there's so much joy. There's all this like excitement in what the Lord's going to do. And at that point, I was like, I don't, I have no idea what the next thing is. Like, I had stepped away from, it was the job that I really loved. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go, but I just trust the Lord. And it was just such a like drastic change for me that really has been like the turning point of, okay, like if, I feel like the Lord is asking me something, I trust that like there's going to be goodness on the other side. Or if my faith in prayer and like it actually working was like so bolstered by that. Like, I mean, truly just it encouraged my faith and changed the way that I like respond to the world and live in the world with like something that I really love and it's a good thing, but the Lord is sweeter. And so that is really the big, I think, turning point in my life.
Thanks for sharing that. I know that we always talk about you don't have to share anything that is heavier, but I also know it's a huge encouragement for people to hear those types of stories. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Okay, so let's get into Closer Than a Brother. So we'll let you kind of talk about a high level and then we'll get into it. But just to get us started, and it's really an invitation into community to move from isolation and loneliness, these things that are, as we know, continue to plague certainly our Western society that we're all very familiar with, moving from that place into authentic community and relationship. So let's just kind of go back to maybe the genesis of this, of the idea, as you begin to make it, what kind of sparked it, and then just we can go from there on as you continue to develop it and what questions we have about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of nailed it with what the book is. Just an exposition on friendship and how the Lord uses it and how we can cultivate it to enrich our relationships and really have a deeper faith through the avenue of friendship. So, but yeah, I love writing, have wanted to write more professionally than as a hobby for a long time, and have just like been slowly working towards that. And I knew at some point that I wanted to do a book. I honestly thought it would be about like depression and anxiety and like how faith intersects with that. But when the opportunity presented itself to write this book, I was like, I knew what I was gonna like pitch to them as the book I was gonna write. And then while I was sitting there, it was like this idea for a book about friendship. And like 90% of the chapters just like fell into place in my head. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to write that. So it was really kind of a step of obedience. I would not consider myself an expert on the topic of friendship, but I just really value friendship, especially as I think it's everyone needs it, but especially as a like adult single in the church, friendship is invaluable to me. And so, and I just felt like there weren't a lot of resources for it. And so, yeah, I just kind of sat with that for a little bit and prayed about it and really felt like that's what the Lord was asking me to write. So that's kind of how it came to be that topic.
All right. I got a question then.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you prepare a book, go into a pitch meeting? When did you change the pitch?
So I heard about the pitch. Like, it was kind of like an open call. of like, hey, pitch your book, and like if we like it, well, you know, talk more about it. And so I was preparing for the open call, and I was actually at dinner the night before with some friends, and we were talking about it, and that's when I had that like, oh, maybe I should write about this. And so I took that night and prayed about it, and then the next day I pitched both kind of. I was like, here's the book I thought I was pitching to you. Here's the book I think I'm supposed to pitch to you. And they agreed. They were like, I think that we really need this one on friendship more. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's for my Parks and Recs fans, you pulled the Tom's Bistro, where he went into the business pitch for the dry cleaning chemical transactional company. And as soon as he was about to start, he was like, this is not what I want to do. I want to start a restaurant. And he pitched Tom's Bistro and got it. And I've always gone, dude, that is a gutsy move just to pull off a presentation. And you did it. So
Well,
congratulations.
thank you. It was very like, that's such a good analogy. I love that episode. It was very like not low key, but like it didn't feel so high pressure. And I think part of that was just like, I mean, I'm not guaranteed to get this anyway. And it felt like such a just like casting it out to the wind to see that I was like, well, what's the worst that could happen? They can say no. And so I think if I'd gone in with more expectation of like, oh, this is going to turn into something, I would have been a lot more nervous. But I think I went in expecting them to be like, thanks, try again later. And so I didn't have
Well, that's
quite
a
so many nerves about it.
good thing to remember for any of those in that world or the business world, that holding pitch meetings is a part of your world, that the more like when you have less pressure and a little bit less structure, or at least there's time at the end to brainstorm other ideas or say, what else is up, kicking around up there, that's actually might be where you get what you're
Yeah.
actually looking for.
Yeah, it's so true because I truly just never, this idea would have never occurred to me otherwise.
That's cool.
I love that it kind of came the night before when you're in a really real moment,
Mhm.
with your community,
Yeah.
living the message of the book before you knew that was what you were going to write about. And it's an amazing book. So I'm really glad you wrote it.
Thank you. Thank you for the forward.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So
Thank
everyone who
you.
hasn't read it, read Lauren's forward. It's beautiful. But yeah, I
And
don't
keep
think I've
reading the whole
ever,
book.
well, thank you. I don't think I've made that connection that, yeah, it really occurred to me in the moment of living out what the book is. So that's really sweet. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, what was the process? Because there's a whole world of independent publishing now where, you could have just written it and put it on Amazon yourself, hired somebody to design the cover, all the things we know an independent author can choose to do now. Obviously, this route was something that was providential. Once you got into it, what was it like? Were they, here's your deadline. We
Yeah.
want to see chapters at this, like kind of talk a little bit about what the process was working with a publisher.
Yeah. So I used a publisher called Hope Books. It's a hybrid publisher. So it's a little different than traditional. It's kind of a mix of like a middle ground. And so for me, that was helpful because I was never going to do independent publishing. That felt overwhelming to me. I didn't know where to start. And so to have something like this where it's not quite as competitive, so that was helpful too, as far as, getting a book out there. But they handled all the back end things of like getting it on Ingram Spark, getting it on all the websites to sell it. They had an editor, like we had a developmental editor, and then we had like a copy editor and a proofreader and all of those things like built in. And so that was helpful because I wanted it to be good. Like I didn't want to just like write it and send it out into the world and be like, oh, it's good enough. Like I wanted it to be the best it could be. And my editor was fantastic. And so I really appreciated that process. And then yeah, they helped us with the cover design and formatting and all that kind of stuff. So that was super helpful because that would have been overwhelming to me. But yeah, the goal was for us to publish it on a year timeline. I wound up taking almost 2 years, just because I was in the middle of writing it, and just life happened the way life does. And so I asked for an extension. They were very gracious about that. And then so I asked for an extension. They were great about that. And then they needed more time too because they got kind of backlogged. And so I think the original published date for it was like supposed to be November of 2024, and it came out in March this year, which was honestly fine. But yeah, so that's kind of, yeah, deadlines. They helped us like kind of map out like, okay, here's like the outline we want to see. Here's, we had to do sample chapters, all that kind of stuff that I think you would probably do before you ever pitch to a traditional publisher. But they kind of walked us through it. So that was helpful because I feel like I learned a lot. And now I could pitch to a traditional publisher pretty confidently.
What is talk about the difference. And I know you haven't worked with a traditional publisher, but just from what you understand between that and you have worked with a hybrid publisher.
Yeah.
What do you see as the difference?
I think, so from what I understand and can tell is there is, it's far more competitive to get into a traditional publisher. I don't know of many people who've had success without like a book agent and that kind of thing. Whereas this, you can like get onto one of their pitch meetings and do your best, but they also, I think with traditional publishing, a lot of it works in like how the royalties work out and the like advance. So I did not get an advance for this book. I like paid in a little bit of like what they would be doing for me, and then I get a larger cut of the profits than I would if I had gone traditional publishing. So that's as far as I understand it. But they did a lot of what a traditional publisher would do. So the editing, the designing of the cover, the getting it, on platforms to sell, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I would say every author is going to be different in terms of what they need help with. But it feels like the editing is such a big part, to have somebody else speaking into what you're writing.
Yeah.
And that's gifted at that and experienced in that and going, hey, you could cut here. This feels a little fuzzy. We need to tighten it. Let's get a better illustration, whatever it may be. That feels like a huge help.
That was the deciding factor for me, honestly. Like I really wanted to have another pair of eyes on it, because when you're in the thick of it, like you get to the point where you're like, I can't even look at this book anymore. So you need someone else to have fresh eyes to be like, all right, here's where it gives you a break. So you can like, they're reading through it and doing all their notes. And then when you go back to it, it's so helpful to see someone else's eyes on it, to see like, what you're saying, but to see if that was clear enough for someone else to understand, or if there's a better way to say it, all that kind of stuff. So that was huge.
Yeah, it's kind of like a music producer. It's like for the people that I know that self-produce their own stuff, so this would be like someone who doesn't need an editor, then it tells me you better be good at like your structure, when to walk away from a song, when they're finished, you get them finished every 3 days. You're that kind of, it's easy to lump it under like a type A, but like you gotta be wired, weirdly goal oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And not need help in any of those things. Otherwise, even if it's like, oh, artistically, I know what I want to say. You're like, yeah, I get that. And so that might change what the producer does for you, but like he still needs to be there to help like some of the examples Kent just gave. Like, dude, I know you're in love with that part, but you're too close to it. It's real fuzzy and weird and it pulls me out of the song every time.
Yeah.
Can we please try it without it? And if you don't have someone that at least is like giving you stuff to try, I feel like you can wake up one day and be really far off the track. Like you drifted really far from the project.
Yeah.
And it's not good. And in fact, I've seen that a lot of times. Artists get bigger and bigger and bigger. Their ego grows with it. They start self-producing. It bottoms out. And then they go back to Rick Rubin. They go back to take a drink, to their wherever they got success before. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize what he was bringing to the table. I just thought, now I have money. I can call anybody I want to be on this album. I've written 4 albums. I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's usually a bad exercise. Works out poorly for some folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not type A enough to be my own editor, if we want to classify it as that. But yeah, couldn't do it.
And sometimes when you get a good one, like you see the Steven Spielbergs of the world, and some of those guys, even from a director and actual editor, they'll use the same guy for their whole career, because it's like, this guy makes my storytelling take it to a different level that I couldn't do on my own. And now I can't picture myself telling a story without his work on it, which I'm like, that's a really cool relationship to me.
Yeah.
Of those lifelong business partners. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think the way that you went about publishing is really encouraging for what's out there. Potentially, authors being exposed, because I do feel like, to find a literary agent, you kind of have to have a platform. They may or may not invest in you if you don't have much of a platform, and then they want you to work on your platform before you work on the book and all that. So I love this idea of the hybrid
Mhm.
model of publishing, because you've got great writers who have amazing things to say, like you, Brooke, that because you don't fit kind of this formula for agents and larger publishing companies or publishing houses, that we get to experience your gift. So I'm really encouraged that you're one of those who's been able to make it work, and you're kind of blazing the trail for hopefully many other writers and authors who have a message and have the gift to communicate it.
Yeah.
But just, right now, and we talk about this a lot, this is more of the sharing part, but just that platform, it can just be just too much. There's lots of options, there's like lots of people out there. And so trying to distinguish yourself from a platform before you even get your stuff out there, it is difficult. So I'm really encouraged by this hybrid approach to it.
Thank you. I actually would love to like say something on that because that was one of the things I really struggled with is it felt a little bit like cheating to me. Like really struggled with the insecurity of like I didn't use a traditional publisher. Like is this legitimate? Like things like that. And it really tripped me up for a long time on like being confident to share about it. But I don't I hate that we've come into this place where it's like you do have to have this big Instagram or like whatever platform, doesn't have to be Instagram, but you have to have this big platform to even like get your foot in the door. And most writers I know, it's like that's not what they want to do. They want to be writing. And it's
And
just
they
a
should
little
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I love that you said that because if I can encourage someone else, like it's not cheating, it's a way to like share what the Lord has given you and kind of rage against the machine of what publishing has turned into.
Yeah.
And I would still love to do like traditional publishing, like I said, but I mean, I think you get a little more exposure. There's like things like that. But with publishing being so platform dependent right now, it's a helpful way for people who don't have that to have that option. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
you just hit on
And
the
I'm
coop bingo card when you said Rage Against the
Like,
Machine. So Kent saw me about to jump out of my skin because I love it. I agree. I think like adopting the old Dennis Miller bit of like, I don't want to go off on a rant here, but the social media thing is so out of control. Anybody that's starting a business that is figuring out ways to identify and amplify artists that aren't based on a TikTok or Instagram platform, I'm all behind and all for. Because to me, those things don't go hand in hand. Being a good musician is not about constant algorithm feeding content on Instagram and TikTok, but that's now the biggest filter, and it's at the very beginning of the chain for the creative process. Oh, you want to make an album, you want to have songs. Before we even get to a pitch, what is your online profile? What is your audience already built in? And Kent, it's getting this way with some of the people that we know that have been actors now for 30 years in real, big TV shows, big movies.
interesting.
They now, in the casting process, and their agents are pitching them because they're like, if you're still in acting and you're 50 years old and you were never a leading person, then you are that niche actor who scrapes out a living. So those people are getting pitched to projects that, to be honest, one of 10 actors could take that role and be great with it on this new Netflix show. But they're going, yeah, but this guy's got 1 million followers because for 5 seconds he was on The Walking Dead and that blew him up. And if he posts about this new show, that'll help. And
mhm.
here's his demographic. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with acting or his performance. But that's at the beginning of before he gets the audition. And now it's at the beginning before even indie labels want to see what you've got song wise. And I'm like, I don't understand. If the goal is to put out good music, good movies, good TV, that shouldn't be the number one filter at the beginning of the process of like, well, they also have to be good at this first before we even bring them in. And the
Right.
best artists I know are going to be the worst people at social media because it's all you can do to get them on set to do the thing
Yeah.
they love and were born to do. You want them to post 5 times a week? Like, that person
It
doesn't
takes so much
exist.
work.
We joke about 90s. The 90s people are so great because we're so grumpy. Gen X, we're just so over a lot of things, right? So I love to picture if my early 90s bands lived in today's world, if that was the time. Like, can you imagine Eddie Vedder turning on the self-front camera and going, "Hey, yeah, we're in Seattle this week. Check out our new hats we put online.
No.
And the VIP line starts at 3. It's for an extra." I mean,
well, and I could
Trent
see him
Reznor,
doing
Billy
it before Kurt
Corgan.
Cobain. I
Kurt
mean, could you imagine
Cobain.
Kurt Cobain? I mean, my gosh.
What about Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine? They would have
Yeah.
lost their
They
mind
would have
if the
raged
label came
against
to
the
them.
machine.
They would have had to rage against that machine. They have so many machines to rage against. You can't keep them straight. But
There you
yeah,
go.
okay. So there's my Dennis Miller rant.
There you go. Well done.
My old man
And I
yelling
can
at
set that up
clouds.
for you.
Yeah.
It's like a backwards way. I mean, instead of making and sharing, it's sharing and then making.
Yeah.
It's like
It really is.
sharing something before you even really have anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just brought up one of my 2 things that I wanted to talk about with y'all, and I think you'd be a perfect person to bring it up with, Brooke. Sharing before you make it. At what point in this process did you tell people that you had a book in your head? Even that first one before the night before the thing, like, when were you expressing that to people? Were you bringing people into that process? Like, I think I want to be an author. I think I want to write a book. Did you ever talk about that with people?
Yeah, for sure did. Mostly just, in real life, not on social media, but like with like close friends and stuff, and those who knew me like knew that that was a goal, at least to be writing professionally. My brother actually was the first one to tell me that I needed to write a book. And at the time I was like, I don't have enough words to say about one particular topic to write a book. There's no way. And then sure, like slowly but surely the Lord was like, that's hilarious. Oh, so yeah, I would say, I mean, probably for the last like 5 years or so, my like close friends knew like, okay, this is long term what I would love to do if I could pick anything. As far as like actually like a specific book in mind, even though it's not the one I wound up writing, I don't think I really shared that a lot because I was just like, well, that's so far down the road. Like, it's not going to happen for years and years. And so it was more just like, I'm just going to try to keep being faithful about the work, which I was very bad at, by the way. Like with creative stuff, and maybe other people can relate to this, it's the easiest thing to be like, I don't have time. I'll like do that next week. And you just push it. And so I was really just trying to like get that routine together. And so, yeah, I mean, I mostly just share it with close friends until I had the thing, and then I like told a larger group of people, but I didn't want to publicly share it. Hope Books was like they were like, we want you to share it right away and all this stuff. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I want to wait until I've got more information and have like a launch plan and all this kind of stuff. And so I waited until the manuscript was at least like 75% done before I ever said anything public about it. So
The reason I say that is I had a friend bring that up, that idea, especially for a lot of us that are praying through some of these projects or ideas and trying to pray for guidance or faithfulness to go, hey, if this is what I'm supposed to pursue, help me feel that, or let's go. Or, hey, if this is just my own bias, something I'm holding on to, again, I'm too close to it, and this is not what I was made to do or supposed to be doing right now. Like, please, like, you're going to have to kick in a door, like, in my face for me to get the message.
yeah.
And so he was like, you find your biggest dream. What's the biggest thing you'd want to accomplish ever, even if it's just like a pipe dream? And you just got to start telling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way the Lord will be like, people will go, dude, I've got a warehouse space. Like, well, there's your first hurdle that you never thought you'd get over. Like, oh, I have a free space. Go ahead and you should start it there. And you're like, whoa, this is real. And it would never get to that thing
Yeah.
without sharing it. And at the same time, as I've had things in my life where you start expressing it to friends at an early stage, and when everyone picks their own number, mine's 7, because I have a high threshold. When your 7th friend, and I have 8 friends, so when 7 of them say, that is the worst idea that not only have I heard from you, but that I've heard in the history of ideas, and my job is to hear ideas. You go, I think I should let go of this one. And Kent, you did one for me as a life change when I was like, I think I want to go to law school. Here's why. And Kent let me talk. And Kent goes, like, I've known you a long time, and I doubt I'm the only person who's told you this. I think that's a horrible idea for you. And I was like, and it clicked. I was like, he is the third person who said that. Do you think that means something? But again, I think sharing it before is a weird thing we haven't talked about a lot. And community being a big part, who you share it with, obviously can make or break that process. But I don't know. I'm thinking about that more. What's your biggest dream? What's the thing you want to accomplish? Like, Lauren, you're in the middle of a mega dream. You've been talking about project for a long, long time. And it's like, it takes a lot of people to get things like that done. And they'll never come on board if you're not whispering about it.
Yeah, that's so true. I that's what I found is once I got to the place where I was like, I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, and just kind of eked it out here and there. Probably 27 people were like, you should do it. And so I'm opposite of Cooper. Cooper's like, I need 7 people to tell me no. I need 27 people to tell me that's a great idea. You should do it. So
that's me too. I need like the I mean, I need also people to tell me like, that's not what you were made for. Don't do that. But I need more people to be like, stop being so insecure. Go do it. So
yeah, that's a great point, Cooper.
This is kind of related to sharing. As we cross over that, we'll see where it goes. Sometimes it loops back to making. But I think there are so many of us out there. I'm certainly part of the us that I'm referencing, that you just want to make it. Again, sharing is super hard. It's the last thing you really want to do. So what, I guess, talk me through you going, I've got to take the initiative to pitch this. I see that there's an open call from Hope Books. I've got to get out there and share this idea with somebody who could help make it actually happen, versus just kind of wallowing in, that's probably not good enough. I'm just going to kind of keep it as my pet project and, maybe make a ton of excuses. Like, God wants me to mature more before I put something like this out into the world. Just all these things. What was it like to move from the keyboard or journal to, I'm going to go pitch this? Like, how did you get from one point to the next?
Well, I think we talked about this before, or maybe it was before we started recording, but it was really providential in a way for me, because I really think the Lord was so much in it and kind of like shoving me out of the nest, because I had just applied for a job I really, really wanted, didn't get it. I was semi-devastated. But I was like, okay, well, that didn't work out. Now, like, I need to figure out what the Lord is asking of me in this season. And enter into that time, I just happened to see that they were doing this open call. And I truly, if I'd gotten the job, I would have been like, I don't have time for that. I can't think about that. And I wouldn't have done it. And it was like, well, what else am I doing? I might as well see what this is about. And so I looked into it and pitched it, because I was like, what else am I going to do? And so for me, it was truly just like the Lord was like, hey, I didn't put you in this because I wanted you to do this. I think for me too, I get a little restless. So it just my bent is to sit on something for a while, but then eventually I'm like, all right, let's make it happen. How do we do it? Within reason. Like I said, I would never do independent publishing, but the idea of okay, is there an avenue that I can find to do this? So sorry, I think I kind of lost the plot a little bit. So I think for me, it's just that restlessness of I don't like to just sit on a dream. I want to do something to make it happen. And so I will within reason. And a lot of that is shooting into the dark and nothing happens, but at least I'm trying. And so for me, that is just more my bent, that I'm going to go out there and try it. And then my encouragement to people would be, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yes, so good. I think I need to set up an email, Kent. We need to get this figured out, where you email in coop@makeitshare.com or something, and you can tell me the project you think you want to work on or what you want to do, and it just kicks back an automatic response that says, yes, I believe wholeheartedly you should go pursue that. Love, Cooper.
It's a great idea.
So great.
You can print that out and be like, hey, this guy thinks that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Put it above your writing desk or wherever you're creating, whatever you're making. And
Yeah.
every day, just go do it.
So going all the way back to like childhood, as you mentioned liking writing, I'm always fascinated by what was the first time where you realized that and felt this, and I guess it's kind of a turning point in a way with writing of, I really think I'm going to do this the rest of my life, is I'm going to be writing at some level.
Yeah, I've always been drawn to creative things. I thought when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm gonna go pursue acting. Like that's what I want to do. I was in theater, I loved it. And that was like my goal. And then the Lord was very gracious and kind not to let me succeed in that. They were just kind of dead end after dead end. And so writing really was not even on my radar. And then I graduated college, and that was like 2012, and blogs were really big. And I was like, I want to start a blog. And just like doing that, I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy this. Like I really love to encourage people. And also like writing is a way that the Lord like reveals things to me. So a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm like, oh, I'm learning this while I'm typing it. The Lord is just like really ministering to me right now. And so those kind of things both led me to be like, okay, like I'm gonna do this blog, it'll be fun. And just very quickly was like, oh, I really, really love writing. And so it was just kind of like a whim of a thing that sounded like a fun hobby that then turned into like, oh, I want to keep pursuing this and eventually like would love to do this for a job. So that was that. And then like looking back, I could see, I mean, like I used to like write like joint story, like fan fiction, I don't know, with my friends, like when I was like a little kid. And my like English teacher in high school was like, you could write your way out of a paper bag. And I was like, I don't, okay. But I just like never really thought about it. And yeah, so, but it was cool to look back and see like, oh, Lord, like you've been like weaving this in all along.
I think it's so cool that they're like, it wasn't something overt in your imagination, like, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. But you kind of started playing in that. And then you can look back and see, oh my gosh, I see the seeds of that all along the way. I think it's really encouraging when you're a grown up and you're like, okay, I'm not living the dream I thought I was going to live. Like I had this dream, I tried something else, and actually, this is kind of the dream I didn't know I had. And I look back on my life and I see just the kind of the seeds of it, the ingredients of it. And the Lord knew. I've experienced that too, where sometimes you can get locked into what you think life is going to look like for you and what your dream is. And, like you wanting to be an actor or, I had those too. I was like, I want to do this. And then I even kind of had a taste of it. I was like, maybe this is not what I want to do. And then you just kind of try a little bit of something else and you stay kind of curious and you realize a dream you didn't know you had until you look back, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
That's a
love
great
that.
way to put it.
So I have a theory on that for my life,
Let's hear
except
it.
it has one major pitfall that really needs to be sewn up before I could
Okay.
ever give this advice in public. So why not do it on our podcast? I'm a big proponent when it comes to creativity and in business and trying to find a career and job, especially early on. You got to try so many things and don't get locked in. So for me, all I wanted from my first memory was second grade wanting to play electric guitar. I don't know if it was Chuck Berry, Back to the Future, some of those early visuals, but I just wanted to play an electric guitar. I know it was that age because I got in trouble for cutting up my dad's tennis racket to look like an electric guitar
That's
That's
amazing.
to play along to Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA in my room that I had taped off the radio. That tells you how
Incredible.
old I am. So all those things were just tennis racket. What happened? So I had my mom made me take piano because we had a piano, learn how to read music. I did that for 3 years, sixth grade, get my first electric guitar. And from 12 to 18, I wanted to be fill in the blank. The guys from Pearl Jam, Kurt Cobain, to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix. And then my freshman year, I see an older guy that I knew at Baylor in a band, and the place is packed at Common Grounds. And I just went, I want to be in a band. I want to be in this band. So I was like, hey, I play electric guitar. You guys don't have electric guitar. And they're like, yeah, we don't want one. We need a bass player. And I went, cool. I'll go to a pawn shop, buy a bass. Learned bass. And I was better at bass in about 2 weeks than I'd been in, 7 years at guitar. And bass was my instrument. And I really wish someone had put a bass in my hand at 13. And so I tell people like, my daughter took drum lessons for 2 years and now she kind of wants to bail. I'm like, let her switch to guitar, put her in front of a piano. Like when you find the thing, it'll blow up. Or like Lauren, for me, mine was touring. And you tour, like, here's the thing. If you don't like touring in your 20s, you will never like touring. Because that's the only time
fair point.
It's okay to live on a bus. And if you're not totally caught up in the romanticism of riding from town to town on a bus to play music at 20, you're over it. It's never going to work for you. And that was my reality. And same for like movies and film. Like a lot of guys, that means you're going to be cutting local commercials and working at the news station. If you really want to pursue life behind the camera and you're 20 and you live in Austin or Dallas. And I was like, no way. I am out on that. Now, here's where my thing falls completely apart. Don't tell kids you got to try everything to see what you like or you're good at, because drugs is the one you just can't ride around. At the same time, you're trying to teach your teenagers to stay away from these things. And you're like, I can't, I got to be real careful how I pitch this. So I always bring up the Sinbad joke. Before you do any drug, go be with someone that's on that drug. And you will never do a drug a day in your life.
That's smart.
It's good advice, actually.
It's really good advice.
Great advice.
But I always
Sinbad
find
has
myself,
them, man.
I know, Sinbad. That's another 80s icon. Even
90s.
90s
We're
too.
now starting to watch Jingle All the Way every year. So
I love that movie. It's a cult classic,
It
and
really
people
is.
are, like hate on it so much, but it's
Who's
so
in
good.
it? I don't know. Who's in that? Jingle All the Way?
So Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sinbad, and they're trying to get this toy that's like the toy of the year.
He's a mailman.
Sinbad's a mailman.
Sinbad's the
Schwarzenegger's
mailman.
like this running the CEO of this large company that he's built, but both of them for different reasons have neglected to get this toy that their kids really want.
Yes.
And they wait till like the day before Christmas to go get it. And then it's the adventure of all the places laughing their heads off. Like, y'all think you're actually going to get a Turbo Man right now? And so then the whole comedy is them trying to get Turbo Man, and they're fighting each other to get Turbo Man.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah. Anyway.
We need to keep this tradition going of bringing up these old Christmas movies that aren't Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Because we did the Ryan Reynolds. We need to go find the screenwriter for Jingle All the Way.
That's true.
And that's our Christmas tradition.
I do feel like Jingle All the Way is a little bit
It's a
more
little more
the whole time
Christmas.
than
I mean, it is a Christmas movie, but it is wild.
it is.
So good.
Anyway, sorry, Sinbad took us down that route. I was like, how do we?
Sinbad earlier? I thought you said Simba, and I was like, okay, trying to like Lion
Think
King.
about the Lion
Where
King.
is this going?
Remember who you are.
I was trying to make it work in my head.
That's funny.
Okay, this is my last thing real quick. Well, Sinbad, because I always think about this at McDonald's. In one of his stand-up bits, my dad loves Sinbad. And so we'd watch his stand-up comedy shows. And one of his bits was, he's like, you ever been to McDonald's? And you standing behind somebody in line, and they're just looking at that menu like, what could I get today? Could it be a hamburger, a cheeseburger, a double hamburger, a double cheese? Just order something at McDonald's.
Yeah.
You would going on about people standing in line at McDonald's.
Yes, you would think, Tawny, going into McDonald's, that the menu has been completely reset every single time she goes in. Yeah. What would I like today? I don't know.
We can't tell if we're craving chicken nuggets or if we're craving a burger.
I know. Apparently, Sinbad did not like it. He did not like getting behind that person at McDonald's.
It's my nightmare. That's my
I feel
nightmare.
like if you're going to McDonald's, you're already craving something. I feel like you should be already craving it, and you're like,
you're on a.
But whatever.
Yes, agreed. Okay, hold. So to end this, So Brooke, sharing it, you get to this place, it's done. You're having to now go to Instagram and Facebook and wherever else and tell all the people. So, we've already established that's challenging. So just, yeah, I think to end, like kind of walk us through what you've learned in that. It came out in March. And so we're recording this towards the end of September of 25. So yeah, just what's the experience been like as you've tried to get the word out?
It's an excellent question. It's my least favorite part. It's really self-promotion is so hard and awkward. And so you really have to get over yourself and stop thinking that people are going to think that you're like narcissistic or egotistical because you're sharing this thing that you made. They don't. They want to know about it. But I think the discipline to do it and the like insecurity of doing it are the two things that I have had to struggle to get past. I had a friend suggest like making like short form videos of like topics within the book. And I was like, that's a great idea. And then now I have to like sit down and actually make those. I'm like, oh, that's so weird and cringy, but it's not as much as we feel like it is. And so I think my experiences has been a lot of overcoming myself and my own like hangups with sharing this thing that I made that I think is good. And I worked really hard on it. I'm proud of it. And I think it can really help people. And so why wouldn't I share that? Like I would tell my friend, like, I want to hear about it. I want you to share it. So it's just been a lot of like, if my friend created this, how would I feel about them posting it? It's kind of how I've had to
That's
reframe it for
good.
myself. Yeah.
What's
Go
one
ahead.
insight from the book that would be helpful to share?
I think my biggest surprise to me in writing this book was really the idea of friendship with Jesus in a way that is not just, yeah, Jesus is a friend of sinners, Jesus, like all of these pieces of scripture that are true, but just truly like, what would it be like if Jesus was sitting right next to me and was my friend in real life and I was having a conversation with him? What would that interaction be like? And using like sanctified imagination to really develop that friendship with Jesus. That was really special to me, not just to like write, but also to experience and do. I mean, I had done that before, but to really pick that practice back up as I wrote was really sweet and helped me really learn how to be a better friend. So I know it's really easy to slap on like, oh, Jesus is your friend. You don't have to be lonely. Like we need each other. The fact of the matter is like loneliness doesn't go away just because I can imagine Jesus sitting next to me or I ask him to sit next to me. But there is a comfort in that that is pervasive even when we do feel lonely. It's not going to make the loneliness go away, but I think it'll help us feel seen, but it'll also help us learn how to be better friends when we do have those people in our life, when we do make those connections. So that would be the main thing I would want to share with people.
When I was reading the manuscript, there was a whole list of people that I was like, okay, I want to give this book to them and them. It's just so good, so encouraging. And so, yeah, imagine you're me and want to tell everybody about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. Yeah, friendship is one of the most important relationships we have. And one thing that I really like dug into is this idea of friendships are eternal. We will see the friends that we have, if they're like brother and sister in Christ, we will see them for eternity. And that type of relationship will remain. Like we will still be friends in heaven. We'll be friends with everybody. I think the idea of like these people irritate me maybe won't be around because I don't know. But that idea of like we're investing in something that is eternal and vice versa. Like friends are investing in us in an eternal way, even if they aren't with us for all of our seasons of life. And that has just been so rich to explore.
That's great. And it's a great way to end. So I know we're getting near 11. So thanks, Brooke, for coming on the show and talking about Closer Than a Brother. And we'll put some links certainly to the book in the show notes. But what's the best way, your preferred way, speaking of sharing, for people to follow you?
Excuse me. Instagram, my Instagram handle is at brooke.e.ledbetter. That is where I post a lot of stuff. I've got my link to my Substack there as well. So if people want to follow more of my writing, it's on my Substack. So that would be the place to connect with me.
Perfect. We'll put those links in there so it's easy to get right there. Yeah, well, for all of you that are out there creating, keep making, keep sharing, and we'll see you on the next episode.
You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump. And you might think, what if I fall? Well, what if you don't?